Hey everyone, it's Dragon Rider, Queen of Cards, and we are getting more card reveals for the Great Dark Beyond, and today is a bunch of neutrals. So let's jump in and start looking at these. The first one is Star Volpera. This is a 5-mana 4/5 with tradable. In Battlecry, destroy an enemy starship or starship piece. So this is kind of a tech card then, specifically just to destroy starships. Now, this will not destroy the starship that is in a building phase. So if it has not been launched into an actual starship minion, or if it is not one of those starship minion pieces, then it cannot be destroyed with this card. It has to be launched. But on its own, for the tradable effect and the body you get with destroying that, I think this definitely can see some play if people are being a lot more greedy with their starships, building them up to very large bodies. But just as with many other tech cards like these, really will depend on the meta. So I can definitely see this seeing use in some cases and not seeing a lot of play in others. Also, I don't know why this art just reminds me of Star Fox, if anybody has played the game Star Fox. So I hope the flavor text is something Star Fox related. Then next up we have the Exodar. This is a legendary. It is 8 mana 6/10. Battlecry. If you're building a starship, launch it and choose a protocol. Okay, so you get the launching it for free. So you don't have to pay that 5 mana. So you pay 8 to get this 6/10 body plus launch your starship, and you get a discover choice between 3 different options for your protocol. So the first protocol option is emergency repairs. Gain armor equal to the starship's health twice. Okay, so a little bit more defensive of an option. And depending on how high of the health the starship has, that could be a lot of armor. The second choice is offensive formation. Deal damage equal to the starship's attack, randomly split between all enemies. As always, I love cards that just say enemies. It doesn't specify enemy minions, so this can hit your opponent's face. That could potentially be a lot of damage. And the third option is crew transport. This is get copies of all of the starship's pieces, set their costs to 1. Okay, so you launch the starship, you get the 6/10, and then if you choose this, you get all the copies, potentially 2, 3, 4, however many you have in there, and you get those to your hand, and they cost 1. That seems pretty cool. Honestly, this seems like a pretty good 8 cost to get a body, launch your starship, and get the one of those choices. Yeah, that seems really cool. I really like this one. It does require that you are building your starship. It's not launched, but hey, that's okay. I still think this one is really cool and definitely will find a place. Next up, we have Doom Maiden. This is a 4 mana 4/4 demon. Battlecry, draw a card from your opponent's deck. If you don't play it this turn, put it back. Sure. Okay, so this is potential disruption, but you do have to play it a little bit later and then have the mana to play the card that you get from your opponent's deck. Okay, I guess it's a demon, but maybe this is something you don't play in your deck, but maybe discover if you get demon options. It feels really situational. Then next up we have Mutating Lifeform. This is a 5 mana 3/8 with all minion types. After this survives damage, gain a random bonus effect. Alright, this one seems really interesting. I'm not sure if this is something that a ton of decks will want to play, but maybe can find some fringe use case in a deck like we've seen with Warrior in the past that did damage to its own minions. Then next up we have Red Giant. This is an 8 mana 8/8 elemental. Costs 1 less for each adjacent card played while in hand. That's a really cool synergy, having to play adjacent cards to this in your hand to get it to discount. But also, again, feels very situational. You might have to make awkward plays or make less than ideal plays just to try to get this discounted. And if you top deck this later in the game, I guess you could have the 8, but again, this is not really impacting the board immediately. And I feel like most of the giants don't see a ton of play unless you can really take advantage of discounting them like you can with the Molten Giant. But this one, I don't think you can take advantage of this quite as much. Potentially in an aggressive deck where you're playing a lot of cheap stuff that's going to be next to this card in your hand. Then next up we have Ace Wayfinder. This is a 5-mana 5/5 Draenei. Battlecry, gain 2 random bonus effects. The next Draenei you play gains them as well. Alright, sure. Seems like a fine stat. Unless there is really some advantage to playing the Draenei and you need more Draenei in your deck, I feel like for Standard this might not see a ton of play in like competitive decks. This to me feels much more like it's well suited for things like Arena or other draft style modes like that. So if you're doing an Arena run, or maybe you're just playing like a fun style deck, or you just need to fit in a bunch of Draenei, this seems cool. But for Standard, I don't know. It feels like you're really going to need something very specific to take advantage of this. Well, what do you think of these neutral cards? As always, a lot of the neutral cards feel kind of less than ideal for Standard in a lot of cases. So some of these cards, not super excited about, but we'll try to keep them in mind when we go over a lot of the class cards, because that's where some of the neutrals really shine, is when you can pair them with a very specific deck archetype. So let me know what you think of these cards below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.